Thanks for joining us on the Pulse podcast. We're excited today to be joined in studio by Wendy Chase and ElBea Stonier. Thanks for coming in today.
Oh, we're happy to be here.
Wendy, tell us about yourself and your program.
I'm Wendy Chase, and I am the program director for the Master of Science in Medical Speech-Language Pathology program. So that's an entry-level program into speech pathology, which requires a master's degree to come into the profession, and that's the program that we do. I have been with the program since we started it 8 years ago, and I came here from New England. I was at the University of Connecticut before this, and before that, I did a lot of different things clinically, all of which I think made it easier for me to handle graduate students and the wide variety of people and interests that they have. So I feel like I know a very small amount about a lot of things in this field, and that's probably a good thing for the position that I'm in.
That's great. ElBea?
So I'm the Director of Clinical Education in the Med SLP program here at RMU. I have been here for 7 years. I have not done as many things as Wendy has, but I have done a lot of different things in my career. Before I came to RMU, I was over an early intervention program here in the local area, working with kids birth to 3. And surprisingly, that has also been really beneficial in preparing me to work with graduate students.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. We're excited to chat with you today. And today we're going to talk about developing yourself and your professional persona. And in preparation for this podcast, Wendy, you made an interesting comment. You make a lot of interesting comments. This
Thank you.
particular one.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So I'm going to quote you directly here because I love the concept. So quote, "You're never fully cooked if you think you've
That sounds like me, Jody.
You're never fully cooked. If you think you've reached the pinnacle of who you are, you've lost the recognition that lifelong learning sets innovative, creative, analytical, engaging people apart." So would you elaborate on that?
There's always room for change, and change is not a bad thing. Change is what keeps you active and engaged and responsive to the world around you. And in order to succeed as a professional in a healthcare profession in particular, for me, you've got to be engaged with the people that you are trying to care for or care along with. And so, yeah, you can't just say, yeah, this is who I am. This is the way I am. You have some things that are become very stable parts of your persona. There's always new things to learn. Get excited. Be passionate.
I think something that we talk about a lot in our program is you have to allow new learning to change you, new research to change you. You have to allow your patients to change you and your colleagues to change you. And that is an ongoing process for forever, for as long as you're living, breathing, definitely as long as you're in your career. And so I think that that idea of you have to be prepared to be changed and to allow that when the opportunities come. I think that's something that we try really hard to instill in our students, that mindset that it's not that you weren't doing it right. You do the best that you can with what you have, but you're always going to get more, and then you do better.
I think it's important to note right now that this is why ElBea and I work well together. I have an incoherent idea, and ElBea turns it into a fluent, polished philosophy, and that works for us.
And well, you both
there you go.
spoke eloquently, so I appreciate it. So where does that change begin? Does that begin with personal development or professional development, or does it have to be symbiotic and happen at the same time?
All of those. So the professional you become, who you become as a member of a profession, taking care of individuals and working with others, starts long before you show up or even decide that this is an area of study you'd like to be engaged in. You become the person you're going to be shaped and influenced by just about everything, from the type of vegetables that your family puts on the table to how many people are within walking distance of your house to what goes on at the school you're in as a child growing up and how many people come to family celebrations or don't. And all of those interactions give you opportunities to make choices. They don't feel like choices early on. They feel like this is the way it is. This is what I know. And then you get older and start evaluating this and saying, okay, what do I take from this? What did this mean to me? How did it contribute? And what do I want to add? And there's this new thing. Does that fit? Does it fit with what I want to be? Or is it something I'm going to recognize as different and respect and value, but it's not necessarily representative of the way I look at things? That's okay. So it's all of those things. And then you come to something like graduate school, and then we push you way outside of things you haven't thought about before.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the discomfort in graduate learning is, yeah, that's great. And I like that. So what about this? Before I get off this little rant, I apologize, but it's really important that you become the professional you are meant to be, not the professional that someone is making you. People don't craft other professionals. They present opportunities for you to develop who you're going to be, because we don't need a group of people who all look and act the same way.
Right.
Our students come from everywhere,
We want them from everywhere.
and then they go back to everywhere when they
Everywhere.
graduate. And so I think that there is real harm in us bringing in students and then teaching them, this is how you do this. This is the only way to do this. Because what works in rural Utah is not going to work in urban, like Detroit.
So how do you do that? That seems like it's a balancing act, because they want
It is.
their processes that to diagnose certain things and treatments that probably there's the protocols that you need to follow pretty strictly, I would imagine. But then you're starting students in the clinical setting right off the bat.
Week
correct?
2.
We start talking about that really explicitly during orientation, actually. So it's one of the first things that they encounter when they start the program in orientation is this program is not designed to teach you what to do. It's to teach you how to think and how to problem solve so that you always know what to do and you can figure that out.
It doesn't matter what comes down the line. We can't introduce everything.
Yeah.
Knowledge changes.
So I've gotten really married to this analogy lately. We were talking about if you go to culinary school, they don't teach you every recipe in every type of cuisine. They teach you basics. How do the ingredients interact? What are the chemical compositions? What's the technique for this specific thing? And then you use all those skills to create recipes, right? That's what we're doing as therapists.
So that's one of our new things. Be the chef, not the cook.
I think my stomach growled just on
Yeah,
here.
be the chef, not the cook. Get to the point where you
Exactly.
can create.
I
Or
love that.
creating what's right for that person.
So that's what we want them to do, is to be able to look at a patient, look at all the factors surrounding the patient. What are their individual needs? What are their individual barriers? What are their individual resources? What are their preferences? And then take the foundational knowledges, the theories, and the techniques that they have learned, and then customize an individual assessment, an individual intervention for that specific patient in that specific situation or setting that's going to work for them.
How do you teach them, or is this something that has to come with time, to overcome their personal biases and their personal judgments and opinions? And
When we are training our students and talking to them about overcoming bias, it has to start with awareness. And it's really interesting to see how that plays out with their clients, because it will influence the way that they ask questions, and it will influence the kind of information that they get. That's something that we start training into them from day one, because if you're aware of it, then you know how to navigate it.
And again, as you're building yourself as a professional, they have to learn to make explicit choices for how that bias or perspective influences their decision making about a client's care.
A huge problem with bias is that it leads to assumption. And the assumption can lead to really poor patient care because you've made assumptions that are not accurate.
And that doesn't mean your assumptions were bad. It just means you made a presumption. You went ahead and said, I don't need to worry about asking how many people actually sit at the dinner table when you're having the meal. and that could be 12 chaotic people, and you're recommending that this kid eat in a quiet situation, low stimulus environment. It's not going to work very well. I mean, that's not a recommendation this family can follow through on, potentially. So anyway.
Well, I think that's an issue that seeps into society, honestly, the bias and being stuck in your ways and thinking that your way is the only way and the right way. There's a great scene in Ted Lasso where he's playing darts and he's talking about somebody who's kind of a jerk, and he talks about, hey, you're not curious enough. And I love that word, curious. And it seems like that fits here, is like, you need to be curious about other people and
Ask the question.
and ask those good questions. And that's awesome. That's part of your curriculum.
Well, and it's an inherent part of the curriculum because it has to come up frequently in all the discussions about all the different types of things you're doing with a student, whether it's crafting a particular plan or listening to a lecture or engaging in a group project, because it's always there, and you have to learn how to talk about the views that you hold and the things that have shaped you in a way that's comfortable.
So how do you help your students make that a part of their lifestyle and their professional and personal, to always be willing to be vulnerable and change and want to progress?
It's not the same for every student. They need prompts and occasional nudges and some pushing and a lot of situations where you're asking for that, so that some of them can choose how and when they can be vulnerable at a rate that works for them, but it's presenting a lot of opportunities for them to do that. And I think one of the things, and I know you can speak to this as well, but we talk about psychological safety, and we need to make things psychologically safe for students. But that in and of itself is a little too black and white. It has to be safe enough for you to feel uncomfortable, because that's where the learning is. We cannot make this stress-free. We can't. It's not reasonable to think that you will grow in a stress-free environment. You have to go to that part where you're stumbling a little bit and you're not sure, and you're going to try something and see how it works, and then say, okay, well, that maybe didn't work the best. Let's try this way. You have to be there. So we have to create a space that allows you to have enough safety net that we're there, your friends are there, colleagues are there. We have systems that will support what you're doing for you to be uncomfortable enough to grow piece by piece and bit by bit. And so it's creating
Productively uncomfortable.
productive discomfort, a zone of productive discomfort. We talk about with our clients, the zone of proximal development and the therapeutic zone, and where you keep your clients so that they're getting, enough of the positive to push forward through a difficult learning. It's the same for them. You got to put them there.
There are parallels with everything that we do.
Yeah.
If we want them to do it with their clients or their patients, we have to do it with them first. So in those, in our program, students are in the clinic within the second week of the semester, of the very first semester. And so they're assigned clients. They have to plan their interventions. They have to create lesson plans. They implement those lesson plans. Everything is video recorded. We're watching live. We're interrupting. We're correcting them as they go. And then we're meeting and we're debriefing and we're talking about, you did this one thing at this point. Tell me what happened. What were you thinking? Why did that make sense? And so everything that we want them to learn and be able to do with their clients, they experience that with the faculty first. So we model that for them. We do that with each other in class. And then we also do that with the students. So essentially, we have to design an environment that is psychologically safe. That doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable, but it means that there is room for them to try things out, room for them to make mistakes. And, we have really great safety nets in place. So we create that environment, and then we very methodically guide them through different kinds of interactions, different situations where we're pushing them to exercise those skills constantly.
how would you recommend somebody going about making changes? Like I don't know, whether they want to make a huge change, they want to lose 150 pounds, or they want a career change, or they want to just develop like a talent, or just whatever they want, something they want to
How
improve.
do you approach that?
Yeah.
I think we need our students to, so I'm thinking about our students. We need them to have some level of self-awareness first. You got to recognize where you are. And then you need a direction to aim for. So if we are sending students into a therapy room and they don't know what they're supposed to accomplish, they're not going to accomplish anything. And so I think you have to have awareness, and then you have to have direction. And then you evaluate, what tools do I have that are going to help me get closer to whatever outcome we're looking for, whether it's better health, better job, better skills at the job that you have. I think those are probably the pillars I would.
Yeah, those are the tools. I would start earlier in the process by saying one of the things that work to get you to the place that you are now in your life is being surrounded by different ways of doing things and opening yourself up to difference. You have to put yourself, okay, I'm going to tell a story about my oldest son. He was playing soccer. He's a child on the spectrum, not great at social, etc. But he loved soccer. But he would stand at the very end of the sideline, completely away from the entire team. And he never got put in. And he kept saying, I want to play, I want to play, I want to play. It's like you have to put yourself in the place where there's a chance that that will happen. And so he had to think about, we had to set a little strategy. You stand within 2 other humans of your coach on the sideline. That's your spot. You be present. You have to be uncomfortable enough to put yourself in the situation that will open up an opportunity. And so you have to look for ways to put yourself in a different situation, or in a place or an environment, or with people who are going to be different from you. And make space to listen. And you'll hear things, you'll see things, and you'll be like, hey, I don't want to hear too much more about all that stuff, but I do like that. That's interesting. And now we go back to what you said earlier about curiosity. Why is that working for you? Why do you think that's such a good idea? Let me ask some questions. Oh, maybe that could work for me. Maybe that is something I want in my toolbox. I think putting yourself deliberately in situations where things will look and sound different allows you to see opportunity.
Before we wrap up, do you have any other thoughts that you'd like to share about any of the topics we've covered? Or?
So let me give you a summarizing comment for me. Your professional persona is important, not so that you know and you develop your way of doing things, so that you understand yourself as a person enough to walk into someone else's world.
So we've made it to the rapid fire round.
Okay, ready.
We're going to ask you
This is a pulse thing.
a quick question, and you're just going to get whatever answer that comes off the top of your head. So we've been talking about being a chef. So you're in your kitchen, you're going to make something as a chef. What is it?
Eggplant parmesan.
My go-to is a Hawaiian dish. It's a chicken heka.
Just let me know when to come over. What's the last show you binge watched, ElBea?
Ted Lasso.
Death in Paradise.
Awesome. Ever met a celebrity? Ooh.
Celebrity speech pathologist, yes.
What book are you currently reading?
Competency-based education delivery in higher education, competency-based education programming in higher education, healthcare sciences competency-based education protocols.
I'm reading One of Us is Dead.
Okay.
Have you determined which one?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
No spoilers. Favorite place to vacation?
Maine.
Seaside, Oregon.
Finally, what's your favorite way to wind down after a long day at work?
Pet the dogs and zone out to Civilization 5.
I'm in school, so I don't get to wind down.
That's cool too. But you still have to take those moments, but I don't have my kids still at home, so it's different. My kids are out.
I run.
Elbie's got 5 kids still at home, so
Oh, wow.
I'm running from them. I'm running still I'm from.
She runs really.
she has to stay one step ahead.
My teenagers are runners also, so we occasionally run together.
That's awesome. Well, Wendy and LB, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for this great conversation. And
Thank you for listening to us. Little did you know, you open up a conversation with speech pathology. It never ends.
I'm trying to be curious. And thank you for joining us in this episode of The Pulse. Be sure to tune in next time.